Now then, let's take a much closer look at the Minim Primaloft Overbag. An overbag is a sleeping bag designed to go over the top of another sleeping bag inside it. In this case, this overbag is made of Primaloft, so it goes over the top of a down-filled sleeping bag inside it. The key thing with an overbag is that it has to be cut big enough to go over the top of a sleeping bag and not to compress it. If you compress it, you lose some of the depth of insulation, the depth of loft is being squashed, and you start to lose the amount of insulation that you've got. So an overbag has to be oversized, as it were. It has to be slightly bigger than the bag that's inside it. So the foot bag is cut slightly bigger, and the size of the overbag itself is cut slightly bigger than the sleeping bag. And by doing that, you allow the inner bag to loft fully, so you've got the insulation from that, and then you put another layer on top of the insulation from the first bag, so you've got a double layer sleep system in effect, two sleeping bags together. But the overbag critically is bigger, and it accommodates the inner bag. Now the Minim Synthetic Overbag has got this other specific detail, which is that it's made in Primaloft. It's made in Primaloft Gold, which we find is a fantastic water resistant or water repellent type of wadding. It copes very, very well with wet conditions. So for instance, if you've got lightweight sleeping bags, summer sleeping bags such as the Minimus or the M.Degree sleeping bags, lightweight racing bags in effect, if you've got that sort of thing and you want to boost the warmth of that bag for winter use, then an overbag is a very effective way of doing that. On top of that, the Primaloft version here really protects the down inside. Synthetic wadding of this type, Primaloft Gold, is very effective at repelling water, so we find it a very, very protective system. Let's just run through some of the critical details. It's made in Ultrashell. The outer fabric is Ultrashell. That's PhD's very lightweight waterproof fabric. It's got two layers of waterproof treatment. It's got a DWR sprayed on coating on the outer, and then on the underside of the fabric, the other side of the fabric, it's got a permanent sprayed on waterproof treatment that can't be rubbed off. It's permanent, and that really does elevate the performance of this fabric. So the outer is Ultrashell, the inner fabric is M1 sleeping bag fabric, a very lightweight and soft sleeping bag fabric, and then in between those two layers is Primaloft Gold, and that is this very effective insulation that coats with dampness better than down. Now, the construction system is very simple, and that improves its performance. We've got a whole piece of one single piece of fabric over the top, another piece of fabric underneath, Ultrashell underneath, and they are stitched together at the sides. Now the side piece is the least vulnerable to condensation problem. It's usually condensation from above or dampness from below, so the base or the top of the bag, which is most vulnerable. So we've got a very straightforward construction system which really helps make this overbag effective. Now let's just look at the temperature ratings that you get with this. You can use this Minim Overbag on its own during the summer, so if you wanted a lightweight and spacious sleeping bag for camping out in summer months, then this will give you this bag will give you enough insulation on its own without a sleeping bag inside it. The overbag gives you insulation, typical operating temperature of 5 degrees, so pretty good. It could be used right through from late spring to early autumn, so very, very useful piece of kit for summer camping anyway. But it's the additional warmth that's so interesting here. By using it on top of a Minimus or a M.Degree bag, something of that type, it boosts the warmth by an added 15 degrees centigrade. So it gives you another level of warmth by adding 15 degrees to the system you've got. So for instance here, this Minim 400, which is inside here, is rated at -7 degrees. It's a very good winter, British winter type sleeping bag. If you add the overbag to it, that gives you a temperature rating of -22. So it really takes you into very, very cold conditions. It's really remarkable actually how much an overbag will boost the warmth of a sleeping bag inside. If you just go to a much more simple look at it, if you use a 0-degree sleeping bag inside here, something like the M.Degree 250, it's got a typical operating temperature of 0 degrees centigrade. If you put the overbag on top of it, it takes the system down. The warmth is then giving you a temperature or a system rated at -15. So overbags really are, they're the big guns really, they're the really big way of improving the warmth of a sleeping bag. So not only does the Minim Primaloft Overbag give a great deal of warmth to your sleeping bag, it also protects it a lot from dampness. So it is a very, very useful piece of equipment. Okay, so there's a close look at the Minim Synthetic or Primaloft Overbag. Cheers.